Chapter 1. Pressure reveals the weak mind. Imagine a bridge. For years, thousands of cars drive over it daily. It looks sturdy. It looks invincible. But then, a massive storm hits. Winds howl at 100 miles per hour, and a heavy freight train stalls right in the middle of the span. Suddenly, the steel begins to twist. The concrete cracks. The bridge collapses into the water below. Did the storm create the weakness in the bridge? No. The weakness was always there. The rust was hidden inside the joints. The structural flaws were present during the sunny days, but they were never tested. The storm didn't break the bridge. The storm simply revealed that the bridge was already broken. This is the fundamental truth of human psychology. Pressure reveals, it never invents. When you snap at your spouse after a long day, the pressure didn't make you a mean person. It revealed a lack of emotional regulation that was already there. When an athlete chokes during a championship game, the pressure didn't make them a failure. It revealed a gap in their mental preparation. When a leader panics during a market crash, the pressure didn't create their fear. It simply exposed the fact that they hadn't trained their mind for the inevitable storm. Most people spend their lives hoping for a life without pressure. They think, if only my job was easier, I'd be happy. Or, if only people treated me better, I'd be calm. They are waiting for the world to stop being heavy so they can feel strong. But that is a victim's mindset. You do not need a lighter load. You need a stronger foundation. Repeat this to yourself and let it sink into your subconscious. Pressure reveals, it never invents. The biology of the collapse. Why do we break under pressure? It's helpful to understand what is happening inside your brain. When you encounter a high-stakes situation, a difficult presentation, a medical emergency, or a confrontation, your amygdala, the primitive alarm system of the brain, takes over. It floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes. Your vision narrows, tunnel vision. Your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, essentially shuts down to save energy for a fight or flight response. The weak mind is a mind that is a slave to this biological surge. If you haven't trained for this moment, your body will interpret the pressure as a death threat. You will panic. You will stutter. You will make impulsive, emotional decisions that you'll regret later. But here is the secret of the elite. The athlete, the soldier, and the surgeon feel the exact same surge of adrenaline. Their hearts beat just as fast. The difference is that they have built a mental structure that doesn't crack. They have conditioned themselves to understand that the physical sensation of pressure is just data. It's not a command to panic. Real-world resilience, the elite standard. Think of the miracle on the Hudson. When Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger lost both engines over New York City, he didn't have time to invent a calm persona. He had seconds to make a series of impossible decisions. If he had spent those seconds asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "I'm going to die," everyone on that plane would have perished. Sully was calm because his training had already addressed the rust in his mental bridge. He had run the simulations. He had mastered the mechanics. When the pressure arrived, it revealed a man of iron discipline. Pressure reveals, it never invents. Contrast this with the average person in a minor crisis, like a server crashing at work. They scream, they blame others, they pace the room. The server crash is the storm. The screaming is the revealed weakness. Habits of reaction. Most people have actually trained themselves to be reactive. We live in a culture of instant outrage. Something happens on the news, and we react. Someone leaves a mean comment, and we react. By doing this every day, you are literally wiring your brain to be weak. You are practicing panic. You are making stress your default setting. If you want to stay calm under pressure, you must stop practicing chaos in your daily life. You cannot be a frantic, reactive person for 23 hours a day and expect to be a Zen master during the 1 hour of a high-stakes meeting. The first step to mastery. To begin your journey toward an unshakable mind, you must accept full responsibility for your reactions. Stop blaming the pressure. Stop saying, "They made me so mad," or "the situation was just too much." The situation was just the wind. Your reaction was the bridge. If you collapsed, it's time to look at your construction. This week, when you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, Whether it's from a deadline or a crying child, stop. Don't act. Don't speak. Just observe the feeling. Say to yourself, this pressure is not the problem. This pressure is just showing me where I need to get stronger. Remember, the storm is coming for everyone. It is the law of the universe. You cannot stop the wind, but you can build a bridge that no hurricane can move. Because, as we will learn throughout this journey, pressure reveals, it never invents. Chapter 2. Calm is built, not given. Audio note. Transition to a more instructional, training camp style tone. We often look at people who stay cool in a crisis and say, wow, they are so lucky. I wish I was born with that personality. We treat calmness as if it were a height requirement or an eye color, something you either have or you don't. This is a lie. Calmness is not a gift. It is a trophy earned through the boring, daily repetition of discipline. You are calm because you practiced being calm. The myth of the natural. When you see a Navy SEAL move through a dark building with total precision while being shot at, you aren't seeing a naturally calm person. You are seeing the result of thousands of hours of stress inoculation training. They have been put in freezing water, deprived of sleep, and forced to solve complex puzzles while instructors scream in their ears. They are calm because they have made calm their only option. The difference between a reactive person and a disciplined thinker is what they do in the gap. The gap is the space between a stimulus, the event, and the response, your action. The reactive person, stimulus-response, immediate, emotional, unthinking. The disciplined thinker, stimulus-the gap-response. In that gap, the disciplined thinker evaluates the situation, breathes, and chooses the most effective path. The goal of this book is to make your gap wider. Conditioning the brain. How do you build this? You start small. If you can't stay calm when you drop a glass of water, you will never stay calm when you lose your job. You must create calmness drills. Low-stakes testing. The next time you are in a long line at the grocery store, notice the urge to huff, puff, and check your watch. That is micro-pressure. Instead of reacting, use that time to practice your default state. Relax your jaw. Drop your shoulders. You are calm because you practiced being calm. The pre-mortem. Before you enter a stressful situation, visualize it going wrong. Don't visualize it going perfectly. That's a fantasy. Visualize the chaos, and then visualize yourself responding to that chaos with a slow, steady breath and a clear voice. High performer routines. High performers use triggers to lock in their calm. A surgeon might have a specific way they scrub their hands that signals to their brain, the world is now outside this room. I am now in the zone. What is your trigger? It could be a specific phrase. It could be the act of putting on your watch. It could be 3 deep breaths. This is how you build your fortress. You don't wait for the pressure to arrive to find your calm. You bring the calm with you because you've been building it all morning. Remember, no one is coming to save you from your emotions. No one can give you peace. It is a DIY project. You are calm because you practiced being calm. Chapter 3. Control your breath, control your mind. Audio note. Read with a rhythmic, steady cadence. Allow for pauses after key instructions to let the listener simulate the breathing. If the mind is a runaway horse, the breath is the reins. Most people believe that their breathing is a result of their emotional state. They think, I am stressed, so my breathing is shallow, or I am calm, so my breathing is slow. While this is true, the inverse is far more powerful. Your emotional state is a result of your breathing. You have a manual override switch for your entire nervous system. It is sitting right beneath your ribs. It is the only part of your autonomic nervous system, the system that controls your heart rate, digestion, and stress response, that you can consciously control. When you change how you breathe, you change the chemistry of your blood. You change the signals being sent to your brain. You move from the fight or flight system, the sympathetic, to the rest and digest system, the parasympathetic. In any crisis, the first thing you lose is your rhythm. The second thing you lose is your mind. To keep your mind, you must keep your rhythm. Slow breath, slow mind. The biology of panic. When pressure hits, your body wants to prepare for a physical battle. It begins taking short, shallow sips of air into the upper chest. This is designed to give you quick bursts of oxygen to run or fight. But in the modern world, your pressure isn't a saber-toothed tiger. It's a difficult board meeting or a financial crisis. When you breathe shallowly, you are telling your brain, there is a mortal threat nearby. Your brain responds by shutting down your logical thinking. It focuses entirely on survival. This is why you can't think of the right words during an argument, or why you forget your notes during a speech. Your brain has literally locked you out of your higher functions because your breath told it you were in danger. But the moment you consciously lengthen that breath, the moment you pull the air deep into your belly, the signal changes. You are telling your amygdala, I am safe. I am in control. Repeat this. Slow breath, slow mind. The frontline secret. Talk to any veteran emergency responder, the paramedics who arrive at horrific car accidents or the firefighters who enter burning buildings. They will tell you that the difference between a rookie and a veteran is the breath. A rookie arrives at a scene, sees the chaos, and their breath hitches. Their heart rate rockets to 150 beats per minute. Their vision narrows. They begin to fumble, dropping equipment and losing track of time. The veteran arrives, sees the same chaos, and the first thing they do is a tactical reset. They take one long, deliberate breath through the nose, expanding the diaphragm. They exhale even slower than they inhaled. In that 4-second window, they have regained their peripheral vision. They have lowered their heart rate. They have reclaimed their intellect. They know the rule, if you can't control your breath, you can't control the room. Slow breath, slow mind. The box of calm. Let's practice the primary tool of the elite, box breathing. It is used by Navy SEALs, snipers, and world-class surgeons to reset the system under extreme stress. Imagine a box with 4 equal sides. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Feel your belly expand, not your shoulders rise. Hold that breath for a count of 4. Do not tense your throat, just stay still. Exhale through your mouth for a count of 4, pushing every bit of air out. Hold the empty state for a count of 4. Do this once, and you feel a shift. Do this 4 times, and you change your neurochemistry. You are no longer a victim of the pressure. You are the architect of your own physiology. Integration. You do not wait for the big pressure to use this. You must use it in the micro moments. When someone cuts you off in traffic, slow breath, slow mind. When you're about to send an angry email, slow breath, slow mind. When you feel the weight of your to-do list, slow breath, slow mind. The goal is to make deep, rhythmic breathing your default setting. By the time the real pressure arrives, your body will already know what to do. You have trained the reins. Now, you can lead the horse. Chapter 4. Detach from the storm. Audio note. Transition to a tone of objective observation, cool, detached, and analytical. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a hurricane. The wind is whipping at 100 miles per hour. Debris is flying past your head. Rain is blinding you. In this position, it is impossible to see where the storm is going or how to escape it. You are in the storm. You are the storm's victim. Now, imagine you are standing in a high-tech weather station, 5 miles away, watching that same hurricane on a satellite monitor. You see the swirl. You see the eye. You see the path. You are not wet. You are not afraid. You are simply observing. This is the power of mental detachment. To stay calm under pressure, you must learn to move from the center of the hurricane to the safety of the observation deck. You must observe, don't absorb. The danger of absorption. Most people absorb the energy of the room. If their boss is angry, they become anxious. If their partner is crying, they become overwhelmed. If the stock market is crashing, they become frantic. They have no skin between themselves and the world. When you absorb pressure, you lose your ability to lead. You become just another piece of debris flying in the wind. Elite professionals, hostage negotiators, air traffic controllers, and high-stakes litigators operate on a different frequency. They practice objective detachment. They realize that the chaos happening around them does not have to happen inside them. The phrase to live by is, observe, don't absorb. Stepping back mentally. How do you detach when the stakes are high? It starts with the language you use in your own head. When most people feel stress, they say, "I am stressed." This is a mistake. When you say, "I am," you are identifying with the emotion. You and the stress have become one thing. The master of calm says, "I notice that there is a feeling of stress arising in my body." Do you see the difference? In the second sentence, there is a you, the observer, and there is the stress, the thing being observed. You have created distance. You have stepped out of the hurricane and into the observation deck. The fly on the wall technique. When chaos hits, perhaps a project has failed or a confrontation is heating up, perform a mental zoom out. Imagine you are a fly on the wall in the corner of the room. Look down at yourself. Look at the person you are talking to. Look at the situation as if it were a scene in a movie. From this perspective, the tragedy looks like a problem to be solved. The insult looks like noise. The crisis looks like data. By detaching, you aren't being cold or unfeeling, you are being effective. You are keeping your vision clear so you can actually help. You cannot pull someone out of quicksand if you are jumping into the quicksand with them. You must stay on the solid ground of the bank. Training the third person. To build this skill, practice it during your daily life. When you feel a minor annoyance, like a slow internet connection, don't be the annoyance. Observe it. Say to yourself, "I am observing a feeling of frustration." Watch the feeling. Where is it in your body? Does it have a temperature? Does it have a shape? The moment you begin to analyze the emotion, you have stopped being a victim of it. You have moved from the feeling brain to the thinking brain. The world will try to pull you into its drama. It will try to make its panic your panic. Resist. Hold the line. Stay on the observation deck. When the world gets loud, get quiet. When the world gets frantic, get still. Observe, don't absorb. Chapter 5. Pressure is a signal, not a threat. Audio note. Read with an energetic but controlled tone. This chapter is about shifting perspective, so the voice should sound encouraging and transformative. We have been conditioned to believe that pressure is a bad thing. We treat it like a disease, something to be cured or avoided. When we feel our heart rate increase, our palms sweat, and our focus narrow, we tell ourselves, "I am scared," or "something is wrong." But what if I told you that those physical sensations are not the sound of you breaking? What if those sensations are actually your body's way of preparing you for greatness? The mind is a labeling machine. It takes raw physical data and attaches a story to it. If you label the surge of adrenaline as fear, your brain will treat the situation as a threat to your survival. If you label that same surge as readiness, your brain treats the situation as a challenge to be conquered. The secret to staying calm is changing the label. Pressure is feedback, not fear. The threat versus the challenge. Psychologists have identified two primary ways we perceive stress: the threat appraisal and the challenge appraisal. When you are in a threat appraisal, you believe the demands of the situation exceed your ability to cope. Your blood vessels constrict, your heart labors, and your brain begins to look for an exit. You are playing not to lose. When you are in a challenge appraisal, you see the pressure as a signal that something important is happening. You believe you have the tools to handle it, or at least the ability to learn. Your blood vessels actually dilate, allowing more oxygen to reach your brain and muscles. You are playing to win. The physical sensation is almost identical. The difference is the story you tell yourself. Repeat this. Pressure is feedback, not fear. Reframing the jitters. Think of an Olympic sprinter waiting at the blocks. Their heart is pounding at 160 beats per minute. Their muscles are trembling. Their breath is sharp. If you or I felt that way sitting in an office, we would think we were having a heart attack. We would panic. But the sprinter doesn't panic. They don't want their heart rate to be low. They need that energy. They interpret that physical noise as their body plugging into the power grid. In a famous study at Harvard University, researchers took students who were terrified of public speaking. They told one group to try to calm down. They told the second group to say the words, "I am excited." The calm down group performed poorly. They were fighting their own physiology. The "I am excited" group performed significantly better. They didn't try to stop the energy, they just relabeled it. They realized that the butterflies in their stomach weren't a sign of weakness, they were a sign of preparation. Using stress as fuel. When you feel the pressure mounting, I want you to stop trying to push it away. Instead, welcome it. Say to yourself, my body is giving me the energy I need to handle this. My heart is beating faster to get more oxygen to my brain. My focus is narrowing so I can ignore distractions. This is my ready state. This pressure is just feedback telling me that the moment matters. When you stop fearing the feeling of pressure, the pressure loses its power over you. It becomes a tool. It becomes the wind in your sails rather than the waves crashing over your bow. Perception shifting in real time. The next time you are under a deadline or facing a difficult conversation, pay attention to the physical signals. Notice the heat in your face or the tightness in your chest. Instead of saying, I can't handle this, say, pressure is feedback, not fear. Tell your brain that the feedback is simply letting you know that it's time to perform. You aren't stressed, you are enhanced. You aren't shaking, you are vibrating with potential. By changing the label, you change the experience. You move from a victim of the moment to a master of the moment. Pressure is feedback, not fear. Chapter 6. Build a calm default state. Audio note. Read with a firm, foundational tone. This chapter focuses on the work behind the scenes. It should sound like a blueprint for a construction project. There is an ancient Greek saying, often attributed to the poet Archilochus and later popularized by the Navy SEALs, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. Most people believe that when a big moment happens, they will suddenly find a hidden reserve of courage and composure. They think that the adrenaline will turn them into a hero. This is a dangerous delusion. In a crisis, you will not be new and improved. In a crisis, you will be the most basic version of yourself. You will default to whatever habits you have practiced most often. If you have practiced reacting to every minor inconvenience with frustration, you will react to a major crisis with total collapse. If you want to be unshakable, you have to build a calm default state. You don't rise to the moment, you fall to your training. The neural groove. Think of your brain like a grassy field. Every time you have a thought or a reaction, you walk across that field. If you react with panic once, you leave a faint footprint. If you react with panic every day for 10 years, you have worn a deep, muddy trench into the earth. When the rain of pressure comes, the water will naturally flow into the deepest trench. If your panic trench is the deepest path in your brain, that is where your mind will go every single time things get difficult. You don't choose to panic in the moment. You are simply following the path of least resistance. To change your default, you must stop walking the path of panic and start digging the path of calm, even when there is no reason to be calm. Reprogramming the default. How do you build a calm default state? You do it through intentional repetition. Low-stakes integrity. How do you act when the internet is slow? How do you act when you drop your keys? How do you act when someone is wrong on the internet? These are the moments where your training happens. If you can stay calm during these micro-pressures, you are deepening the calm trench. The morning foundation. You cannot start your day by scrolling through stressful news and social media and expect to have a calm default state. You are training your brain to be reactive before you've even had coffee. A calm default starts with a disciplined morning, silence, breathing, and intentional thought. The check-in habit. Every hour, ask yourself, what is my current state? If you are tensed up, relax. If your breath is shallow, deepen it. By doing this, you are teaching your nervous system that calm is the home base. The power of routine. Elite performers use routines to lock in their emotional stability. They do the same warm-up, the same meditation, and the same preparation every single time. Why? Because the routine tells the brain, everything is normal. We have been here before. Even if the world outside is chaotic, the routine inside is consistent. This consistency becomes the floor you fall to when the ceiling collapses. Practical challenges for emotional stability. If you want to harden your calm default, you must practice voluntary hardship. Take a cold shower. Not because you want to be clean, but because the cold water is a micro-pressure that triggers a panic response. When you stand in the cold and force your breath to stay slow and your mind to stay still, you are training your brain to ignore the alarm bells. You are teaching your brain, I am the boss of this body, not the temperature, and not the stress. When you do this daily, you are building a version of yourself that is fundamentally different. You aren't trying to be calm anymore. You are calm. It is your identity. It is your default setting. When the storm hits, others will look for a place to hide. But you will simply stand where you are, because you have already been through the storm in your mind 1,000 times. You don't rise to the moment. You fall to your training. Chapter 7. Eliminate mental noise. Audio note. Read with a crisp, direct, and uncluttered tone. The pacing should be slightly faster but very clear, reflecting the clarity the chapter describes. Pressure is rarely a single, heavy weight. Instead, it is the accumulation of 1,000 tiny, distracting thoughts. It is the what if. It is the why me. It is the what will they think of me if I fail. These thoughts are not the reality of the situation. They are mental noise. And in a high-pressure moment, mental noise is a killer. It creates a lag between your perception and your action. In the world of high performance, that lag is where mistakes are born. The greatest performers in the world, the concert pianists, the surgeons, the fighter pilots, don't have more thoughts than you do. They have fewer. They have learned to strip away the unnecessary until only the task remains. Quiet mind, clear action. The hesitation loop. When you are under pressure, your brain naturally tries to calculate every possible outcome. You begin to overthink. This is known as analysis paralysis. Imagine a professional golfer standing over a 3-foot putt to win a tournament. Physically, they have made this putt 10,000 times. Their body knows exactly what to do. But if they begin to think about the prize money, the television cameras, or the noise of the crowd, they introduce a glitch into their software. They hesitate. They tighten their grip. They miss. The miss wasn't a failure of skill. It was a failure of focus. The noise drowned out the signal. The weak mind believes that more thinking will solve the problem. The strong mind knows that once the action begins, thinking is the enemy. You must trust the training you've already done. You must move from the thinking brain to the doing brain. Repeat this. Quiet mind, clear action. The story of the cluttered failure. There is a famous case in aviation history where a highly experienced flight crew crashed a perfectly functional airplane into the ground. Why? Because a single light bulb on the dashboard had burned out. The crew became so obsessed with that one tiny light bulb, discussing it, troubleshooting it, arguing about it, that they failed to notice their altitude was dropping. They allowed noise, a minor technical glitch, to distract them from the signal, the fact that they were flying into the earth. We do this in our lives every day. We get so caught up in the noise of a coworker's rude comment or a minor setback that we lose sight of our primary mission. We crash the plane because we are staring at a light bulb. To stay calm, you must ruthlessly prioritize. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me solve the problem right now? If the answer is no, it is noise. Delete it. Silence the internal dialogue. How do you silence the noise? You use focus drills. One of the most effective techniques is called the objective narrative. When you feel your mind starting to swirl with what ifs, force yourself to describe the situation in purely objective, boring terms. Instead of saying, oh no, the presentation is a disaster, my boss looks angry, I'm going to lose my job, you say, I am standing in a room. I am holding a remote. There are 12 people looking at a screen. I am on slide 4. By stripping away the emotional labels, you kill the noise. You return to the facts. When you return to the facts, you return to your power. Training the single point. You can train this every day. Most people multitask, which is essentially training the brain to love noise. They watch TV while eating, or listen to a podcast while answering emails. They are practicing distraction. If you want a quiet mind under pressure, practice single tasking. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you listen to someone, just listen. Train your brain to lock onto one signal and ignore everything else. Then, when the pressure hits, you won't have to try to focus. Your mind will naturally go quiet because that is what you have trained it to do. Quiet mind, clear action. Chapter 8. Stay calm when others lose control. Audio note. Read with a deep, steady, and reassuring tone. This chapter is about being the anchor in a storm. Panic is a virus. It is one of the most contagious forces on Earth. Biologically, we are wired to sync up with the emotions of the people around us. This is thanks to our mirror neurons. If the person next to you starts running in fear, your brain will scream at you to start running too, even if you don't see the threat. In a crisis, whether it's a family emergency, a corporate layoff, or a physical disaster, most people will look for someone to follow. If everyone is panicking, the panic will accelerate until it consumes the group. But there is a phenomenon known as emotional gravity. The person with the most certainty and the most composure in the room will eventually pull everyone else into their orbit. You do not have to be the victim of other people's chaos. You can be the anchor that holds them steady. Calm is contagious when discipline leads. The power of the stabilizer. Think of a pilot in a cockpit when the engines fail. If the pilot's voice over the intercom is shaky and frantic, the passengers will scream. There will be injuries in the cabin before the plane even touches the ground. But if the pilot speaks in a slow, bored tone, the pilot voice, the passengers will stay in their seats. They will follow instructions. They will survive. The pilot's calm doesn't just help the pilot, it literally saves the lives of the people around them. This is the responsibility of leadership. Whether you are a parent, a manager, or a friend, your internal state is a public service. If you lose your cool because they lost theirs, you have doubled the chaos. If you stay still, you halve it. Repeat this. Calm is contagious when discipline leads. Protecting your emotional perimeter. To stay calm when others are losing it, you must build an emotional perimeter. You must realize that other people's emotions belong to them, not to you. When someone comes at you with high energy, yelling, crying, or speaking rapidly, your instinct will be to match their energy. You will feel your own voice getting louder and your heart rate rising. Resist this. Instead, perform a downshift. If they speak fast, you speak slower. If they speak loud, you speak softer. If they are moving frantically, you move with deliberate, slow precision. By refusing to match their frequency, you force them to match yours. This is the secret of hostage negotiators. They don't argue with the person on the other end of the line. They just stay so profoundly calm that the other person eventually runs out of fuel for their rage. The grounding technique. 5-4-3-2-1. If you feel yourself being pulled into the group's panic, use the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method to lock yourself back into reality. In your mind, identify 5 things you can see: the floor, the clock, a chair. For things you can touch, the fabric of your pants, the cold table. 3 things you can hear: the hum of the AC, a distant car. 2 things you can smell. 1 thing you can taste. This forces your brain to leave the social panic and return to the physical present. It breaks the mirror neuron loop. Leading through the fog. When others lose control, they lose the ability to make decisions. They are in a fog. They need someone to give them a single, clear direction. If you are the one who is calm, you don't need a complex plan. You just need the next step. Everyone, sit down. You, call the office. You, get the first aid kit. People will follow a calm voice in a storm, even if the voice belongs to a stranger. Discipline is the highest form of authority. When the world around you is spinning, remember that you are the center. You are the eye of the hurricane. Your stillness is your strength. Your composure is your gift to the world. Calm is contagious when discipline leads. Chapter 9. Train under discomfort daily. Audio note. Read with a gritty, challenging, and high-energy tone. This chapter is the training camp phase. It should push the listener to take action. We have a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be strong. We think strength is something we summon in the moment of crisis. But strength is actually the residue of survived discomfort. If you spend your entire life seeking comfort, adjusting the thermostat by 1 degree the moment you feel a chill, ordering food the second you feel a hint of hunger, or avoiding every difficult conversation, you are effectively detraining your mind. You are teaching your brain that discomfort is an emergency. When you live a life of total comfort, your panic threshold becomes incredibly low. A minor inconvenience feels like a catastrophe because you have no calluses on your soul. To stay calm under heavy pressure, you must stop running from small pressures. You must seek them out. Discomfort builds control. The law of stress inoculation. In medicine, a vaccine works by introducing a tiny, weakened version of a virus into your body. Your immune system learns how to fight that small threat, so that when the real, powerful virus arrives, your body already has the blueprint for victory. Mental toughness works exactly the same way. This is stress inoculation. If you want to stay calm when you lose $1 million deal, you must first learn to stay calm when you are physically exhausted, freezing cold, or mentally drained. You must intentionally put yourself in weakened states so that you can practice the mechanics of composure. The master of calm doesn't just wait for the storm, they build their own storms. They know that discomfort builds control. The cold shower philosophy. One of the simplest and most effective tools for this training is the cold shower. When you stand in front of that stream of freezing water, your body experiences a micro-crisis. Your brain screams at you to step away. Your breath hitches. Your muscles tighten. This is the exact same biological response you feel when a boss yells at you or a crisis hits your business. The cold shower is a laboratory. If you can stand in that water, force your breath to slow down, and keep your mind still for 2 minutes, you have just won a battle. You have proven to your amygdala that you, the conscious mind, are in charge, not the environment. You aren't just getting clean, you are hardening your nervous system. You are teaching your brain that this is uncomfortable, but I am safe. Practical discomfort challenges. To build an unshakable mind, you must integrate voluntary hardship into your daily life. The wait challenge. The next time you are hungry, wait 1 hour before eating. Observe the hunger. Don't complain. Don't fidget. Just sit with the discomfort and realize it cannot move you. The physical edge. Push yourself in your workouts until you want to quit, and then do 2 more minutes. In those 2 minutes, your mind will try to panic. Your job is to stay heavy-lidded. Stay calm. Keep your form perfect. The silence drill. Sit in a room with no phone, no music, and no distractions for 20 minutes. For most modern people, this is a form of torture. The noise of your own thoughts will create pressure. Practice staying still. Turning ooh into yes. Most people have an ooh reflex. When something difficult arises, they say ooh and try to find the easiest way out. I want you to replace that reflex. When you encounter a difficult task, a cold morning, or a long walk, say to yourself, this is a training session. View every moment of discomfort as a rep in the gym of the mind. The more representatives you do, the heavier the weight you can carry. By the time the world tries to crush you with real pressure, you will find that you have become too strong to be crushed. The pressure hasn't changed. You have. Discomfort builds control. Chapter 10. Become unshakable. Audio note. Read with a slow, powerful, and ultimate tone. This is the conclusion. It should feel like the listener has reached the summit of a mountain. Every word should carry weight. You have reached the end of this training, but you are at the beginning of a new way of existing. Through these chapters, we have dismantled the myth that calmness is a personality trait. We have proven that it is a discipline, a set of habits involving your breath, your focus, your perspective, and your daily training. But there is one final step. To be truly unshakable, calmness must move from something you do to something you are. It must become your identity. When you face the world from now on, you do not try to stay calm. You simply are the person who stays calm. You have seen the storm, you have built the bridge, and you have tested the steel. Pressure no longer moves me. The identity shift. The greatest barrier to mental toughness is the story we tell ourselves. If you still say, I'm just a high-strung person, or I've always been a worrier, you are giving yourself permission to fail. You must kill that old identity. From this moment forward, you are the anchor. You are the observer. You are the disciplined thinker. When a crisis hits, you don't ask, "What should I do?" You ask, "How does an unshakable person act right now?" The answer is always, with a slow breath, with a quiet mind, with a detached perspective. Repeat this, not as a hope, but as a fact. Pressure no longer moves me. The long-term architecture. Emotional strength is not a destination you reach and then leave. It is a house you must maintain every day. The world will continue to provide you with reasons to panic. There will be more storms. There will be more losses. There will be more chaos. That is the nature of life. But you now have the tools to ensure that while the world may be in chaos, you are not. Maintain your morning foundation. Keep your breath deep. Ruthlessly eliminate mental noise. And never, ever stop training under discomfort. Visualizing the future. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a future version of yourself. You are in the middle of the most stressful situation you can imagine. People are shouting. The stakes are high. Everything is on the line. See yourself in that moment. Notice that your shoulders are down. Your face is relaxed. Your eyes are clear. You are breathing slowly while everyone else is gasping for air. You are moving with precision while everyone else is flailing. In that moment, you are the most powerful person in the room. Not because you have the most authority, but because you have the most control over yourself. That version of you is not a fantasy. That version of you is waiting for you to finish this book and start the work. Final words. The world values the loud, the fast, and the frantic. But the world is governed by the quiet, the steady, and the calm. When you master your own mind, you master the world. Nothing can be taken from a person who has already found peace within themselves. No amount of external pressure can break a mind that has been forged in the fire of discipline. Go out into the world. Welcome the pressure. Embrace the challenge. And remember, in every moment, in every breath, in every storm, pressure no longer moves me.